I'm delighted to be here with my friend, colleague, co-coach, entrepreneur, Callie Robson. Callie, great to see you.
And you, Rasheed.
And thanks so much for spending some time, because I know you've just come back in from France. I know you're an international businesswoman.
Oh, hardly.
I wanted to just talk to you a little bit about your work. You're founder of Ingenious, which is how many people will know you, which is supports women in business, women inventors, creative people, to really take their ideas and really bring them to life. Tell me a little bit about, how did you find yourself in this weird and wacky world of entrepreneurs, female entrepreneurs, and so on? How did the journey begin for you?
Well, I'd started in product development in the corporate world, and I'd done that for my career, and then I thought, that's enough. I'm fed up of doing everybody else's ideas, and I want to do my idea. And my idea was a crockery product. I don't know if you know this, but it was a crockery product, and it was innovative. And I researched it, I made the prototype, and in that process I went through every single mistake that most inventors or people who are taking new physical products, and indeed any new or innovative idea, many people make the same mistakes. And I made those mistakes myself, and through that process actually learned the right way to go about it. And that was even though I had a background in new product development.
Right, so it's interesting, isn't it? So there seems something that when we're then following our own passion, when we're trying to build our own business, be it a service or in fact a product, we sometimes forget some of these key, crucial steps. And I know that's what you do day in, day out through your work, through the materials on your website, through the events that you run, really helping people to understand how it is that they can get those things right. But I guess you've got the added advantage that you're also a coach, that you're able to understand the people, the emotional, and all that kind of stuff.
It's so much about the internal person, about the person who's actually working on their idea. The first thing is that everybody's going to leap in. We're all naturally inclined to leap in and to run around headlessly trying to do it and make it happen. And sometimes that's not the right approach. If the idea is a good one and it's going to be scalable and it's going to be big business down the line, it's better to just sit back and ask some questions, ask the right questions first. And some of the most important questions to ask are the questions about you, why you're doing it, who you're talking to, who your product's going to be for, who you're actually targeting. And by connecting the you and the people out there who have need of your product, you create a better product, and it's much, much easier to market it and get it to sell.
Absolutely, and I think that I remember, I think one of the first times we met was at one of your workshops, and you powerfully took people through this process of just understanding all of those kind of differing perspectives, from their perspective through to the other perspectives that they're going to need to be mindful of down that road, and it's very, very powerful. Tell me, She's Ingenious. I mean, what's your what makes you so passionate about working with women in business, and helping people on that whole journey? Because it's one thing, isn't it, helping people individually, but then you've gone that step further by creating a community and really producing a whole range of resources to help them. So clearly it's something that you're passionate about. Again, there's a lot of work involved in that.
It's a lot about the innovation, and getting an innovative idea to market is what interests me. But in the process, it's about putting the pieces of the puzzle together. And I think people aren't always really helped by the advice that they get out there, because they get different pieces of advice from different experts, and they get very confused about what they're supposed to do next. And usually they do the bits that spend a lot of money before they ask the most basic, simple questions.
Right, so you're saying that really there's some fundamentals that need to be got right before that you should be thinking about spending money on patents, lawyers, patents, lawyers, all the rest of it. Prototyping.
Or on anything, in fact, because the right questions to ask from the outset aren't going to cost you any money.
Right,
They'll just cost you a bit of time to ask those questions. But most people aren't aware, when they go and talk to the experts who happen to be at the prototyping and patenting and very technical end of things, that they've got to actually ask these other questions before they start. And there are a lot to do with the why you're doing it, and who are you doing it for, and why do they need your idea, or not even need your idea, why do they really desire, why are they going to pay for your idea? If you can crack that from the outset, what they call your elevator pitch, even from the outset, it's not something that you leave to the end process to when you start to sell it. You need to get that right from the outset, because that's going to actually decide what the product is that you actually develop.
Right, and what you're saying is very powerful. On the one hand, it seems very elementary, but it's very essential, isn't it? That being clear why you're in it, being very clear about who it is that you're actually producing this particular product or service, or
Yeah.
why actually they want it. And these kind of questions are really going to help somebody save them a lot of heartache, money,
Absolutely.
and to be clear about actually how that product should look. And
Yes, and it actually gives them a much easier ride when they're developing the product, because it's going to all flow from having built on a solid foundation.
so tell me then, Kelly, what's the process that you take people from? If somebody was to come to you, or to come to the website or to one of your events, and they've got an idea, or they're starting out of the business, tell me a little bit about some of the steps that you kind of help people, or you encourage them along, because I bet you lots of people who are watching this, they're passionate about their idea. Maybe they've started in business, or maybe that they're employed. Tell me a little bit about some of those steps that you...
One of the most important things that people have got to start to do is to manage the risks in their new idea. There's so many steps in the process, there are so many risks along the way. There's a long lead time from the start of developing or doing the research to when you get it to market. So you have to know about almost picking the things that you've got to cross off the list as worries as you go. We tend to brush worries under the carpet, but what I actually try and do is show people that the questions that they ask, or the worries that they have about the process that they're in, are exactly the things that they need to focus on. They need to be brave enough to bring those out, put them on paper. It's very important to write down the questions that you have. I always say, write down the 3 questions that at this moment you most want answered. And by that process, magically, you start to find the answers. And that's really important, because the worries tend to be the secret signals to ourselves, the things that we've got to ask or sort out before we move forward.
Well, this is what's really powerful and what I really enjoy about your work, because it seems to bring together the very, very specific and those real technical, often those those very practical
stuff,
issues, with often the strategic and the very spiritual questions that people might be asking themselves. Why am I doing this business in the first place? And it seems that you're very passionate about bringing those things together. You're very mindful of those spoken and then those unspoken and worries, and they both need to be addressed, don't they?
They both need to be addressed, because in the long process and the tricky process of getting something new to market, there are a lot of challenges. And if you don't build on the solid foundations and know you, and build from a core of you, where you understand yourself, just enough. We're all on a journey where we're learning about ourselves, but you have to build from that core and build that into your product, because that makes the whole process much easier. And when you hit a challenge and an obstacle, many obstacles, as you will, that's part of the process. You tend to be able to keep with it. You persist. You go through it, and we all know that the successes that we see out there are born of persistence and being able to stick with it and find answers to the questions and just keep on going.
Right. And tell me, before we close, I just want to find out a little bit about what stage, if somebody was really interested in what you said and in your work, and they wanted to find out a little bit more about She's Ingenious. Can you tell me a little bit about what stage are they going to get most benefit, or should they think about approaching you?
When they're asking that question, I've just thought of an idea, is it a good one? At that point, there are all sorts of different ways to answer that question and things that you need to know. And at that point, they need to stop before they jump in and actually do some looking around and learning and asking. And at that point, if you join she'singenious.org, you'll find loads of information there that will set the groundwork, set the pieces of the puzzle in place. And once you know about those, you know there is no one process for developing an innovative idea and taking it to market. That's the tricky thing. But if you've got the right pieces of the puzzle that you know how to sort of think savvy about and ask the right questions along the way, it's a whole lot easier, and you're a whole lot more confident, and the idea is going to be much more likely to flow through to the marketplace and find its place and sell in the marketplace.
That's wonderful. So people are trying to find you. The website is
she'singenious.org. www.she'singenious.org.
And one last question. What's your one hope for the business landscape, or for people in business? If you had one hope or one wish?
The one wish I have is that those people who start out with a really good idea realise that you have to get certain things in place in order to get investment and make it a scalable idea that is a sustainable business. I see too many business ideas that are great ideas, but the business aspect of them isn't really thought through, and so there's a high failure rate. My one hope, what I'm on a mission to do, is actually make sure that people get the pieces of the puzzle in the right order, in the right way, so that they can build sustainable, scalable businesses for themselves.
That's wonderful. Thank you, Kelly. Pleasure.
You're welcome.